Welcome everyone, and it's kind of stormy outside here right now, which is kind of nice. So the mood lighting is nothing more than a result of my lack of lighting control here in the studio. Just want to say hello to everyone. I'm actually doing some of these live streams so I can make videos out of them, and that makes sense. So this is kind of the long portion of the radius windshields that we're going to be dealing with today. And I'm looking around, making sure I have them in front of me here. I have the mini Alto here inside of this blimp, and also this short hair wind thing. And I got these a while ago, guys. John House over at Radius was kind enough to send me these. And I said, John, I've got a project. I'm going to be traveling the U.S. here with a production that's going to be capturing a lot of different kind of music and so forth. So I just was hoping to try some of these out because I need something compact that I can travel with in a case, but also something that was open sounding. And it's funny because I think about all the videos I've done on this channel that have to do with microphones, Shep's microphones, Senken microphones, Sennheiser microphones, the list goes on, DPA, yada yada, right? But not enough on mounts. And so why do I choose a mount? Why did I even want to try this in the first place? Because I've got Sonella mounts, I've got Rycote, I've got a gamut of mounts, and they're all different kinds of weights, shapes, and sizes. And what makes me choose one over the other has a lot to do with the need, the form factor, the weight, the list goes on. So I got an overhead camera set up here, right above here. If I can actually make it work here, let's get this to switch over. It doesn't want to behave, but we're going to make it behave right now. So here we go. Oh, there it is. And then first thing we're going to do is, so I've got the exposure for this. This is the mini Alto here, and inside of this is a Senken CSM1 microphone. And currently you can't see it because I got the exposure the way I want it. It'd be too dark, but the scale currently says 12.5 ounces. Now, if I add the sock, which I'll do, because we're going to compare this to, something else. So I'll add the short wind fur here. Short wind fur. And that sounds strange, doesn't it? So, and then see what the weight is. Now, it also has this ambient connector here. That thing couldn't be any more than 1 ounce, by the way. So let's go ahead and go back to the overhead camera, and we're going to weigh this here to see what it is. So according to the scale, and you're just going to have to trust me because you can't see it, it's 15.9 ounces, basically. So 15.9 ounces is the exact weight of this. Has a CSM1 inside of it, and it's the mini Alto with the short-haired fur. This is exactly how I used this thing recently in LA, Chicago, and Austin, recording music artists out of all things, plus dialogue, but there was music, so that's cool, right? So then the next one we're going to weigh is another mount I have. So 16 ounces, okay? So, when I think of this, I think of bag use. I think being in a bag, you're carrying a bag and you got a pole, right? You want to keep these things light. So next, we have, this is a Invisity. This also has a CSM1 in it, the Senken CSM1. This is an Invisity something or other by Rycote, the small one. And it has a Rycote softy on it, and this is 5.5 ounces. So you're looking about 10 ounces of difference. So the first thing I noticed is this thing's heavier, okay? But I didn't come on here to say one is heavier than the other. There's obviously more to a shock mount, especially like a spacer of sorts, or Zeppelin is another thing to call it, that is going to add a little bit more weight. But let's do another thing. So I actually, what kind of stream would this be if we couldn't listen to these things, right? You didn't just come here to hear me talk about it. That makes no sense. Let's take a listen. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go naked. Not me personally. This is not that kind of channel. We're going to take the wind blimpy thingy here off of the mic. And we're just going to use just this mount, okay, which is the Invicity mount. And we're going to plug it into our second channel here. And I'm going to have to do some mixing with my third hand here, so bear with me. So, and I'm going to let you hear the microphone, what it sounds like first with nothing, okay? So that's important. So we're going to go in here, and I'm going to mute this mic here, the C3000, and then we're going to unmute the CSM1. Test 1, 2, test. Okay, so this is, let me get it to the proper level here. This is the CSM1. This is what this microphone sounds like. Sorry about the handling noise there. And this gives you an idea. This is a very well-treated studio, by the way. And there's nothing on it, not a windscreen, nothing. This is what the microphone sounds like in its pure state. So now with this Invicity mount, which is our first test, let's go ahead and add the wind gag. Because I've traveled with this gig, this particular rig, and have done all kind of stuff with it because it's light. Okay? But let's hear what happens to the sound of it here. So let's go ahead and pull this down. Okay, so now you're listening to the condenser, the large diaphragm C3000 here, which is just my streaming microphone here. And we're going to add the wind gag. This is a Rycote Softy. Sorry, I keep calling it my own custom names. I guess I should be more specific. And now let's listen to the same microphone with the Softy on top. So here's the CSM1 with the Softy on top. I know, right? It's like something is definitely missing now from where it was. And that's with the Softy on. So now let's switch again. And let's bring in the Mini Alto. So we're going to disconnect this. You know, when we get these things, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to feel it on the boom pole. We're going to see what the balance is like, what the weight is like. We're going to listen to it, and we're going to use our ears. So that's exactly what we're doing here. So now let's grab the Mini Alto, and I'm going to strip it back. Okay, we're going to build this the same way. We're going to do the same test here with the Mini Alto. The one that I was complaining about being 10 ounces more. That seems, and I wasn't really complaining about it. This is the first thing I noticed. I'm like, ooh, do I want to carry this around? And then I thought to myself, Michael, how dare you even think that? Of course you're going to choose the one that has the best sonic character. So, all right, so we're going to, the magnetic mount, of course, right? And I've got some other pieces, but I'm just going to take this off. Let's take the rear off, because we're going to just get in our head the sound of this microphone one more time. And let me plug in the mount here. And this is the Mini Alto Rad. I hope I'm calling that right, guys. Sorry, my name knowledge of all the products is not that great. I think they call it the Rad shock mount because it's awesome. Let's go ahead and plug this in and see what a mindful audio engineer I am, that I'm not blowing out your ears and I'm attempting to turn things up and down. I'm trying to get this in the camera here so we can listen to it. And then let's switch over. So stand by. So this is the other CSM1, naked again, right? We've already heard this because when we did the first test, we heard it. Now we're listening to this test. But next, let's put on the mini alto, which is the the wind gag and the short pile for this. And so to do this, I'm going to unmute this, and we're back to this bad boy here. So let's go ahead and build this. So I use this in a job in LA, also Chicago and Austin, working with various recording artists. And we were following them around, kind of doing social pieces of sorts. And I'm trying to build this here. Let's, and I haven't used this much, so bear in with me as I try to do a decent job building this. So here's the mount. These things are replaceable, which is nice. So I've got these things here for the MKH50 and then the CMS50. And why don't we bust these out? And I know we're doing a test. I'm sorry. ADD has taken over. Let's just do the test first, and then we get into all the talking points, right? We're here to listen. We're sound people. Okay, that's cool. Kind of snaps into place. Snap, crackle, pop. And then let's add the wind gag. This thing builds very quickly, and I like that about this. There's not a lot of hassle with this. So when you're balancing a lot of stuff, recording wires, bags, batteries, you know the drill, then we can, here it is, all looking fancy and snazzy. You know how you used to kind of like, I don't know if you guys have seen people take the loops over this part and tighten it down. You can't, there's not enough there to do that. So you can just kind of leave that hanging or maybe tuck it in. I don't know. So let's go ahead and plug this one in here. Now this thing's kind of deceiving because you want to, part of you, I know it's hard to see on the camera. Let's get the angle right. It's like instinctually, you got to kind of like mindfully pay attention to which way the mic is. So the element is here. And it kind of threw me off at first. It's just because I'm not used to the design of this blimp and which direction it is. But you definitely know by listening to it, which if it's the right way. And if you can't tell, then you're probably got more things to worry about than which mount you're using. Okay, so this is see, that's the wrong way. This is the right way. This is the sound of the microphone inside of the blimp. And when I heard this, I said, "Oh, that is worth every 10 ounces of this." Now we can go ahead and have a little fun with this and even take off a layer here of the short pile. Okay, so let's take off the short pile layer and just go with just the Zeppelin. And yeah, that opened it up a lot. So if you just had a minor wind, that's holding up pretty good. If I blew into this other one like that, you would hear it very, very easily. In fact, let's I don't know. The blow test is kind of weird. That doesn't make much sense. But yeah, very, very transparent, very, very good sounding. That's the first test I wanted to do. So let's switch this off. There you go. Now we're back to this one here. So I noticed right out of the gate here when I used this, because when I was using it, I was doing exteriors. I had an artist sitting somewhere on a perch at some lookout in LA. It's my first time working in LA. And I'm just tickled that I got to travel there as a Georgia-based mixer, and they wanted me to go run with the project, so I was grateful for that. And I had literally the artist was sitting up on a perch of some sort, and I underslung the microphone because of the framing. So there was two cameras. One was really wide because DP liked to shoot big wides. and then we had a tighter shot. So there was no way I could go overhead on any level because they were almost kind of shooting up at the talent for this particular shot. So what I was able to do is get the boom underneath about, you know, and on the edge, because the full frame was all the way like at the bottom of her feet, the ground, and the sky above. This was a big old wide. And she was just playing, doing her thing. Amazing artist. And by the way, the artist's name is Joy Alatican. And she is incredible. If you want to check her out, you can find her out there. But anyway, she's just singing, you know, it's kind of like Tracy Chapman kind of vibes, if that makes any sense. And then, and this mic is just, this CSM1, the reason why I chose CSM1 and mini altos is because I had to travel. I had to put this in a case. I had to be mobile. I couldn't bring anything bigger than that. And the weight was no big deal at all. I think I had a K-Tech 102 CCR, just a short pole that could go maybe 9 foot or something. I had a bag. Real basic setup. But this thing was just hardwired right into the 833, and man, did it sound beautiful. It just felt like we had mic'd her up with large diaphragm condensers, and it was a beautiful thing. So this I like, and let's take a look at some of the modular components here so we can see. So this particular mount is the Mini Alto. So let's go here on their website, and oh, that's my mixing platform, the Redline 16. I love this audio interface, guys. It's so good. It's got Dante. It's really sweet. So anyway, back to the topic. So we can go here, and this is the shock mount, the rad shock mount that I'm using. And I also have some replacement kind of pieces that go inside the shock mount that allow the same rad shock mount to use to work with different microphones without having to have a second microphone. And then I have a, sorry, I'm just kind of not on this website very often, so I don't really know how to navigate it. There we go. The Mini Alto 115 blimp windshield kit. That's the one that I have, is this here. And then rather than getting a whole other blimp, you can get the extension here. So this is the extension that I got for the CMS 50, which is an MS microphone that has a slightly, I think it's a 22 diameter, 22 millimeters. And whereas the CSM one's 19, and I'm talking about the diameter, not the length. And then the Mini Alto, this extension piece. So I can literally travel with this extension piece, the rad shock mount, and then this here, and then literally I can accommodate 4 different microphones, which is going to be, and let me make sure I'm not telling tall stories here, which is going to be the CSM1, the CMS 50, the MKH 50. I'm trying to think if I have any other short microphones that supercardioids, one's an MS, that I'm using to accommodate that thinking. Yeah, I think that's it. I mean, it's something will come to in my mind. It was 4 of them, but those 3. So I could travel with all of those microphones and then have various pieces. And you know, there was a part of me that was like, when I first, that I'm just going to use this to keep it light. I mean, because we're talking 5 ounces here. You know, if you're doing something where it's like, and I'll give you the size comparison. Just, I mean, the CSM1, guys, is such a baby little microphone. It's a beautiful microphone. And the size of this this Invisity shock mount is very, very small. And this, trying to think if I've got something to compare. Cameras are tricky. Here's an iPhone. So that thing is huge. So like compared to show you like kind of like how small this rig actually is. And then here's the mini Alto. Like, look, this thing's like baby. This thing is so small and cute, right? So, I wanted to talk about this, because, first of all, to say thank you to John House and Simon for sending these to me, but also like I wanted to get out and use them. I certainly didn't want to just put some photos on Instagram that don't help you. What I wanted to do is give you some real experience with it, and it was very open sounding, and I couldn't imagine, because part of me was like, oh, just use the lighter weight rig and keep it easy on yourself. It's like, no, when you're dealing with, whether it's narrative or music or something that's not like just straight up down and dirty ENG. Like, I mean, if you're in the swamp and you just don't give a shit and you're just whatever is light so you don't kill yourself. It's like, I get that, right? I've done those jobs. But, let's face it, we're in the business of getting the best quality audio, and transparency of the microphones, like you heard earlier, is key. It's key, It just makes all the difference, And I mean, for instance, I've been doing a lot of content recently, and out of necessity, sometimes I have to use the lavs, and which is fine. But then I get into, then I put a C3000 up, which at the time it's a budget microphone. I bought this microphone 26 years ago. I'm showing my age, but yeah, that's how long I've been doing this sound stuff, by the way. I started in the music studio business, and I'm so glad I did, because I learned so much on a very unique pathway. And I encourage those of you who are watching to certainly diversify your skill sets and don't get stuck on one path, just narrow-minded, because the more you can learn, the better you will be, is the truth of the matter. And, so for what that's worth. So yeah, I wanted to quickly plug, if you're interested in courses and learning, I do have two courses on my site. First is Wire Like the Pros, which was a course on wiring, which was a collaborative effort with a sound technician by the name of Brittany Myers, which is an excellent bit of course. And then also one called Recording Dialogue in Cars, which is really focused on that element. And stay tuned for additional courses as they come available. And you can check those out at mwsound.net, those two courses. And I encourage you to do so. But in the meantime, I hope this was helpful. Rigs and mounts, especially this really cool Alto Mini. And I also have a long pile fur here, which is surprisingly, the size of this is actually for the larger microphone. So I use this extension piece here. And so here's the Mini Alto is the first piece. This is one of the extensions to the Mini Alto here. And then the other components I have are the long pile fur, and you need to get the length that works for whatever, length blimp here that you're working with. And then the short pile fur. And one thing I wanted to tell you is these sound really good. I've got a lot of variety of these. I've got these in Sonella variety. I'm a big fan of their stuff simply because of the weight. It's very, very light, and it's very transparent. But those are at a whole different price point than these. And also, they're more delicate in my experience. So they really require the care, I think, of a boom, specialty type thing, where these is I'd feel much more comfortable taking these on the road, where I know they're going to get beat up, where I can get modular pieces and put them in a case. So I'm really glad to have these in my kit. And I wanted to, I mean, literally it had to have been at least 3-4 months ago I got these, but I just didn't want to talk about them until I really digested them and really used them. And the transparency is very, very good. The build quality is rock solid. I've got nothing but great things to say about it, and I'm really grateful I tried these out. So I think that wraps up this particular portion of this. I'm gonna play a quick promo, and then I'm gonna come back for any questions for those who are here on the live stream. Thank you for tuning in, by the way. I'm trying to do these live streams a little bit more informal and give some time to have some interaction with you guys, and also the products that we're talking about from an unbiased, non-dealer, non-manufacturer standpoint, because I think there's a space for that. So I'll be right back after this quick promo, and we'll get into a Q&A thing. The key to a great sounding lav is 10% placement and 90% process.
Typically, I'll do a script breakdown on my iPad. Ingenuity and flexibility really are the keys here, because we have the same goal: capturing the performance.
It is this process here that inspired us to create Wire Like the Pros, a masterclass for students and professionals who have the desire to excel and go beyond just the wiring technique and tools.
Let's talk about working with the actors.
So I invite you to come over now and enroll into Wire Like the Pros at mwsound.net. So yeah, guys, if you're interested in training, please check that out. And I wanted to show you real quick. These are the mounts that this is the clips that work with the MKH50. So, the ability to be able to change mics and reconfigure, I mean, it's super powerful. I'm digging it. I am really, really digging it. And so I think that covers my experience thus far with the Radius mounts. And sorry, I wasn't more specific on part numbers and product numbers. I just don't know that. My limited room in my brain to add every part number for whatever. But you can obviously go to the site and check that out and locate all these things. And so I think that gets us very close here to the end of the stream. So let's go into here and say hello. And we got a couple comments, which is nice. One from Andres. Hey, Andres, how's it going, buddy? He says he just got the mini Alto 250 for his DPA 4017B, and I've been rocking the rad mounts, and I love them. That's really cool, Andres. Thanks for sharing your experience on that. And I like that profile picture. It looks like you're in a sports background right there. That's great. So the mini Alto 250, is one of the sizes that you can get for that. So that's super cool. Thank you, Andres, for sharing your experience on that. And yeah, if you guys have comments or questions, feel free to put it below. It's definitely because it's a rad mic. Dan, it's great to see you, sir. Not because it's from Radius. There you go. Yeah, that probably has something to do. I just think it's rad. You know what I mean? That's awesome. Yep, that's probably the makes a lot of sense. You know, sometimes I'll throw a product name or number associated with somebody else and mix it all up. So I'm glad I got that right. It's great to see you, Dan. Let's see here. Simon Hayes. Simon Hayes. I'm just kidding. I know Simon Hayes. Had a post recently involving these, and it was about using hypercardioids. Yeah. So that's interesting. You know, most of the short shotguns we use are supercardioids, but it would be interesting to see what kind of hypercardioids those are. Have you played with the distance at the end of the mic to the front of the radius? You know, the story I shared, Dan, about having to capture that super big old wide on the shoot that I did with this recording artist, it was amazing. Do you know how sometimes some of the mounts can get like a combing filter effect, or you can just tell. I mean, I can always hear a little bit of colorization in the mounts. You know, I mean, obviously the laws of physics and acoustics and how sound works is obviously going to manipulate any sound by having something around it. But the transparency of this, for the budget and the cost, I think is very, very good. And I'm pretty impressed with it. So thanks, everyone. That looks like that covers all the comments. I appreciate you being here. And yeah, I think this stream right here will stay live. Subscribe if you haven't already. I'm going to be doing some pretty regular streams here. I got a bunch of stuff to get through, and finally some time to get it. So I'm going to keep on plugging away. So maybe I'll see you guys out here tomorrow. And other than that, thanks so much for tuning in. And always great to hear from you guys, and we'll see you soon.